Ever get that sinking feeling in your throat, the one that hits you right before your life flips inside out? Because that's exactly what happened the night my husband said he was just grabbing drinks with the team. And my phone said he was at a motel next to a damn Burger King. You know that moment when your brain wants to believe the nice, normal explanation, but your stomach says, nope, something's off. That night, the disagreement wasn't whether he was cheating. It was whether I was still stupid enough to pretend. He wasn't. To be clear, my husband was not a cheater type. At least, that's what everyone said. Co-workers, friends, even my own mom. He was the spreadsheet guy, the quiet guy, the man who couldn't lie about how many donuts he ate at work because the powdered sugar stayed on his shirt like a neon sign dot. So when he joined that new tech firm's shiny downtown office, endless happy hours, the we're a family corporate cult talk, I didn't panic. Not yet. That was my first mistake. His name is Michael, by the way. We've been married 7 years. I was there when we were broke and eating off-brand ramen in a studio apartment. I watched him grind through night classes. I celebrated his first promotion like it was the Oscars. I never imagined the same man would turn around and humiliate me in front of an entire company. But we're not there yet. The unraveling started small. 2 months into the new job, he started saying things like, "They work hard here, babe. Everyone stays late." Late wasn't the problem. Lately it has become normal. Normal became expected. Then expectation became routine. By month 3, he barely made it home before midnight. But here's the thing no one prepares you for. Cheating never starts with sex. Cheating starts with availability. Availability to someone else, and unavailability to you. The first real warning sign happened on a Thursday. I texted him, "Should I make dinner or order in?" He replied, "Team drinks. Don't wait up." Number, heart emoji, no kiss face, no love you, just corporate beige. And that was weird because my husband used emojis like Gen Z breathes oxygen. Then came the second weird thing. Instagram. He never used stories. Suddenly he was posting boomerangs at rooftop bars, cocktail glasses clinking, smirking, selfies, someone's hand with glossy nail polish in the corner frame cropped. Just enough to be deniable. That screenshot still sits in my camera roll like a loaded gun. Fast forward to the night everything snapped. He texted, "Work drinks. Big launch tomorrow. Might crash at the office." Crash at the office? Sure. And I'm the Pope. Still, I played the supportive wife role until I caught the lie in the way possible. My car. We shared a car, a Tesla, and Teslas have GPS history. When I checked the app, it didn't show the office. It showed a motel 5 miles in the opposite direction, the kind you book by the hour, not the night. For 30 seconds, I stared at the screen like maybe the map was wrong. Maybe the satellites had a stroke. Maybe the Earth had shifted. Because if the GPS was right, then my whole marriage was wrong. My throat went dry. My hands shook. I could hear my heart beat in my ears. I remember whispering to the empty living room, "You've got to be kidding me." Most people think when you catch a spouse cheating, you either scream or sob. But the drive over was silent, cold, methodical. There's a version of me before that drive and a version of me after. And they are not the same woman. The motel parking lot smelled like wet concrete and desperation. A beat-up Camry idled by the dumpsters. A neon vacancy sign buzzed overhead like flies around a corpse. Then I saw it. His suitcase, in the trunk, half open, and beside it a pair of heels I'd never seen before in my life. I didn't knock. I used the digital key he claimed he lost during the remodel. Funny how cheaters become master planners the second you stop trusting them. When the lock clicked open, the room smelled like expensive perfume and guilt. Michael sat on the bed, but he wasn't alone. A woman, maybe mid-20s, glossy hair and nails like a Pinterest board, snapped her head toward me so fast her earring fell out. Michael didn't say my name. He didn't say I can explain. He didn't even look shocked. He looked relieved. That's the part that broke me, the relief. But here's the twist nobody ever sees coming. She wasn't just some random coworker, She was the one conducting his next promotion review. And I didn't know it yet, but I was about to walk into the most vindictive corporate revenge plot HR ever accidentally helped me execute. Turns out, the woman in lace next to my husband wasn't just sleeping with him, she was signing his future. If cheating hurts, corporate betrayal burns. Silence. That's the first thing I remember. No yelling, No sobbing, no messy apology monologues, just three people frozen in the ugliest geometry ever invented. The cheetah, the other woman, the wife. Michael finally blinked. Babe, nope, wrong script. Don't call me that. I said. The other woman stood up, clutching a sheet around her like modesty meant anything at this point. Up close she was prettier in a curated way, manicured, intentional. That's how corporate women cheat, organized, with calendar invites. She said, "This isn't what you think," which is hilarious, because it was exactly what I thought. I just didn't know the career angle yet. I cut straight to it. How long? Michael stared at the carpet. Not a good sign. Carpet never lies. It absorbs guilt like oxygen. 3 months, he finally muttered. 3 months. That was every late night, every launch week, every rooftop boomerang clinked. Then she added something that made my stomach turn. Technically 4, if you count Chicago. Chicago? We'd never been to Chicago. He'd never mentioned Chicago. That was the first time I realized the motel wasn't the betrayal, it was the sequel. Here's where the story stops being just a cheating scandal and turns into a full-blown office thriller. Her name was Lauren. She worked in strategic partnerships, whatever the hell that means, and more importantly, she was Michael's promotion reviewer. Promotions at that company were Shark Tank level cutthroat. Everyone whispered about them in Slack like it was the stock market. Friendly reminder, people don't cheat for sex. They cheat for advantage. Lauren admitted it with zero shame. We're adults. We help each other. Michael's been invaluable to my team. In Corpa 4, I use him and he obeys. That's when the second twist hit. Lauren wasn't married. Michael was, which meant she had nothing to lose, and I became collateral damage in a transaction I never consented to. Most people leave the motel at this point and go cry in the shower. But betrayal didn't make me fragile, it made me strategic. I didn't threaten to divorce him. I didn't ask why. I didn't scream. I just said one sentence. Is this relationship disclosed to HR? Lauren's face snapped. Michael swallowed like he'd just gulped a stapler. Because here's where they screwed up. Workplace romances aren't illegal. Undisclosed workplace romances with direct reporting influence. That's lawsuit territory. Michael said nothing. Lauren chewed on her lip. The silence confirmed everything I needed. I walked out before they could spin a PR version of the night. On the drive home, I didn't cry. I drafted a plan. My mind wasn't in love. It was on leverage. Cheaters think they're playing a secret game. But the thing about corporate environments is, everything leaves a trail. Receipts, calendars, card, swipes, Slack timestamps, expense reports, badge logs, hotel invoices. They left breadcrumbs everywhere. And HR is basically a forensic lab for bad decisions. He came home at 3 a.m., didn't shower, didn't hide anything, didn't even lie. Well, he sat at the edge of the bed and asked, "Can we talk?" I didn't look up. Your start with Chicago. He froze. Chicago wasn't a conference. Chicago was a cabin in Lake Geneva with Lauren, a whole weekend of team building that the company unknowingly paid for. He tried to frame it like an accident, like he tripped and fell into an out-of-state affair. It just happened, right? And I just found out. Then came the part cheaters always do. The script nobody writes but everyone memorizes. It didn't mean anything. Incorrect. It meant everything. It meant a promotion. It meant power. It meant leverage. Love wasn't the motive. Ambition was, and ambition is colder than betrayal. I realized in that moment something devastating. Michael never chose her over me. Michael chose himself. She was just the ladder he climbed. Here's the twist nobody on Reddit was prepared for. That promotion, the one he was sleeping to secure, it had already been denied 3 days before the motel. Not because of performance, not because of the budget, not because someone else deserved it more. It was denied by someone who knew exactly what he was doing. HR. And guess who? HR looped into the investigation behind his back. Me. I wasn't just the betrayed wife. I was now an official witness in a corporate misconduct case I didn't even know existed. Getting cheated on hurts. Getting subpoenaed by HR because of it. That's when betrayal stops being emotional and becomes evidence. If you're vibing with this kind of messy as hell drama and real revenge arc, hit that subscribe so you don't miss the next twist. I drop stories that go from no way to, oh my God, in under 10 minutes. 2 days after the motel, I got an email stamped with corporate branding so stiff it practically smelled like toner. Subject line: request for participation, workplace conduct review. Michael was in the shower when the notification hit my phone. His name was in the CC field, which means he saw it too. I waited until he stepped out, towel around his waist, acting like domestic peace was still an option. Then I tilted my phone toward him. Looks like your little promotion experiment has side effects. He went pale, not guilty pale, but consequences pale. There's a difference. Later that week, I sat in a glass conference room across from a woman named Janine, senior HR director. Steel hair, minimalist jewelry, voice like she was trained to de-escalate bombs. She started with the script. Thank you for coming in. We're conducting an internal review regarding undisclosed interoffice relationships that involve potential conflict of interest, favoritism, and misuse of company funds. Translation: your husband slept to win a promotion, and we need to know how messy this is before shareholders sue us into oblivion. I corrected her gently. He didn't just sleep with her. He traveled with her. Company funded. Janine didn't blink, but her pen stopped moving, which told me everything. Here's the thing. HR isn't a therapist. HR isn't a referee. HR isn't here to hear both sides. HR exists to protect the company's wallet. Michael didn't just break my marriage. He broke compliance. He broke fiduciary rules. He broke the clause that keeps shareholders from suing the board. That Chicago business trip, HR already had receipts, corporate cards, hotel invoices, mileage logs, badge swipes, a damning pattern that spelled out favor trading plus sex plus career advantage, the trifecta no company PR team wants near their brand. Janine leaned in. Did you know about the relationship prior to our investigation? That was the trap. If I said yes, I was complicit. If I said no, I was collateral. I chose something better. I knew about late nights. I didn't know they were part of the job description. She nodded once, not sympathetic but approving. Victims who aren't hysterical make for cleaner paperwork. Then came the second question. Do you intend to file for divorce? Michael wasn't even in the room, and somehow that landed harder than the motel. I realized then. My marriage wasn't being discussed. My value was, if I divorced him, HR could paint this as sexual misconduct. If I stayed married, it could be rebranded as consensual poor judgment. Companies don't care who got hurt. They care what looks defensible on a quarterly report. So I said, I haven't decided yet, which was the perfect answer, because uncertainty is leverage. 3 weeks went by. Michael sulked like a child, grounded from recess. Lauren acted like nothing was happening because she assumed she wouldn't be the one to bleed. But here's where the plot twisted again. Lauren wasn't the power in the dynamic. She was the pawn. The real power was someone else entirely. The VP of Global Partnerships, married, 2 kids, and based on HR logs, also entangled with Lauren. Suddenly it clicked. Lauren wasn't climbing with one affair. She was climbing with 2. Michael was the upgrade. The VP was the insurance policy. Career women cheat differently. They cheat upward. One night, around midnight, Michael walked into the kitchen, sat down, and said, I didn't think it would go this far. I laughed. The ugly, hollow kind, cheating, or the misconduct. He flinched because he finally realized this wasn't a marriage fight. It was a corporate investigation with lawyers and policy manuals and non-disclosure agreements. They're saying I might get terminated, he whispered. For cheating, I asked. No, he said. For favoritism, of course. Companies don't fire men for cheating. They fire men for creating power imbalances that can be litigated. Here's where the morality gets messy. I wasn't sure if I wanted him fired. I wasn't sure if I wanted revenge. I wasn't sure if I wanted him miserable or just exposed. But then HR sent a follow-up. We've concluded the review. Affected parties will be notified. Affected parties. That phrasing was surgical. Michael got his letter an hour later. Employment terminated. Lauren didn't get fired. That would have been declined. She got worse. Reassigned to a new department. Lateral transfer. No promotion eligibility for 18 months. Corporate purgatory. The VP. Voluntary resignation. Code for take the severance and don't make noise. I assumed HR ended the story. But 3 days later, I found something that made everything explode again, a draft NDA in our mailbox. His company wanted silence. Not forgiveness, not understanding, not closure. Silence. Which meant one thing: I had leverage they were afraid of, and leverage is a hell of a weapon for a betrayed spouse. Most people think revenge starts with anger. They're wrong. Real revenge starts with paperwork. When Michael handed me the sealed envelope, his hands were shaking. Not guilty shaking, not remorse shaking, litigation shaking. The letter inside looked harmless, neutral font, corporate letterhead, tasteful formatting. Then I hit page 2, confidentiality clause, indemnification of parties, non-disparagement stuff, until I reached the line that changed everything, including spouses with knowledge of events pertaining to the investigation. Spouse, S, plural. Legal language doesn't do plural by accident. Now one S told me something massive. HR wasn't just worried about my husband. They were worried about Lauren, about the VP, about patterns, and about a lawsuit big enough to make shareholders sweat. Michael hovered in the doorway like a kid waiting to find out if recess was canceled forever. They said it's standard. He whispered. I looked up at him, really looked. For the first time, he wasn't the villain. He wasn't the cheater. He was the liability. You want me to sign away my voice? I said, no, Bob, it's just wrong script again. I cut him off. This isn't about you protecting me. This is about them protecting themselves. His silence confirmed it. Most betrayed spouses go straight to divorce lawyers. But if you want real payback, you start with employment attorneys. I booked a consultation with a lawyer named Holloway, ex-corporate counsel. The kind of man who smelled like policy manuals and victory. He skimmed the NDA like it was a brunch. Menuda, then he smiled. Tiny Shaklik, they're nervous. He said, why? Because they didn't fire him for the affair. They fired him for favoritism. I said, exactly. That opens the door to discrimination claims, retaliation claims, shareholder optics, hostile work environment, misallocation of funds, and 2 different HR compliance violations. What about me? I asked. He tapped the NDA there. Zagging you preemptively. That means your testimony matters. Testimony. Word choice is everything. Here's the part nobody on Reddit ever mentions. Corporations don't ask for silence unless they're willing to pay for it. Holloway drafted a counter, not petty, not emotional, strategic. We requested severance, COBRA coverage, non-disparagement, carve-out for divorce proceedings, reference neutrality, outlessment, and the golden move. No liability assignment. In English, they pay, he leaves, quietly, and I keep the option to destroy him in family court. Holloway leaned back. Now we wait. 2 nights later, Michael finally cracked, not because he missed me, not because he regretted the motel, not because of Lauren, because he realized the NDA wasn't a lifeline, it was a muzzle. If you drag this out, nobody's going to hire me, he said. Translation. His future depended on my silence. Which is when I asked a question I'd been holding since the motel. Did you ever love her? He didn't blink. He didn't argue. He didn't defend her. No, I loved the promotion. And there it was, the real betrayal. He didn't trade our marriage for sex. He traded it for advancement. Cheaters cheat for ego. Climbers cheat for leverage. While negotiations simmered, someone from the company deemed me from a burner account. No intro, no threats, just screenshots. Expense reports, Slack threads, calendar invites, a forwarded itinerary titled Chicago Confidential, and the line that sealed it. Vendor dinner with Lauren to discuss Q3 contracts. Vendor dinners don't happen in cabins. Vendor dinners don't require lingerie. Vendor dinners don't go through expense accounts without approval, but this one had been approved by the VP. Now 3 people were implicated. The cheater, the mistress, the executive who covered I are always more expensive than crimes. HR wanted one final meeting. Janine was there. Holloway was there. Michael was there. Looking like a man who'd aged 5 fiscal quarters in a month. Janine slid new paperwork across the table. Cleaner terms, better severance, bigger silence. But Holloway pointed to a line and said lightly, remove the spouse clause. Janine hesitated. That hesitation was victory, because if they truly didn't care about my testimony, they wouldn't care if I spoke. She crossed it out. We left thinking that was the end. But the real twist didn't come from HR or the VP or Lauren. It came from the divorce attorney who looked at the settlement and said, "Did he tell you about the other affair?" Not Lauren, not the VP's wife, not the Chicago Cavan, a different woman. And suddenly, the story wasn't just betrayal, it was a pattern. The courthouse smelled like old paper and broken promises, and honestly fitting as hell. Because today wasn't just about ending a marriage. It was about ending a lie that had eaten a chunk out of my life like termites in a fancy wardrobe. Ashley strutted beside Victor like she was walking a red carpet, nodding to a legal demolition. She had that smug posture cheetahs get before reality. Judo flips them into the floor. I swear if betrayals had a fragrance, she'd be drowning in it like cheap perfume. Her lawyer opened with theatrics. "Your Honor," he said, tone dripping with fake righteousness. "My client has suffered emotional distress due to the respondents." I coughed loud enough to interrupt. Emotional distress. Coming from the woman who slept with her boss, on holiday business trips that didn't even include emails or invoices. Okay, my attorney didn't even need theatrics. Facts were our special effects. He slid printed exhibit screenshots, time-stamped evidence, hotel invoices, and that infamous doorway photo across the table. The air shifted. Victor leaned back, base turning the color of printer ink fresh from the toner. Ashley's confidence cracked. "A picture can be misleading," she muttered. "Sure," I said. "So can the sound of a hotel door locking from the inside." The judge did one of those slow blinks like she needed a second to process the stupidity of the defense strategy. Then came the financial part. See, while Ashley was busy committing acts of team building with management, I'd been quietly adjusting accounts, closing joint cards, switching insurance, and moving assets into a trust my dad taught me how to set up years ago. Call it generational pettiness, or just a healthy distrust of people who say trust me. Ashley's lawyer froze, "Your Honor. We were unaware of these transfers." The judge didn't even mask her amusement. "Perhaps because you were unaware of quite a few things in this marriage." Boom. Ashley looked at me first time in months where her face wasn't wearing that villain -in-a-teen drama smirk. There was fear, not of losing me, she'd already traded that in for a corporate lust, but of losing the lifestyle she assumed was locked in. Sport that wasn't. The ruling came down harder than her excuses. Ashley got nothing. No alimony, no assets, no car, and definitely no beachfront condo she swore she'd renovate someday. But never did, because renovations don't come with minibar charges. Victor wasn't off the hook either. Turns out his company has a zero-tolerance policy for supervisors engaging with subordinates. HR doesn't play around. They fired him before he exited the parking lot. The look on both their faces. Chef's kiss. Vindictive satisfaction with a hint of karmic spice. But listen, this isn't where most revenge stories end. Most people would roll credits here, write a smug caption like "that's what you get," and move on. But life isn't a TikTok clip. Because about a week later, Ashley texted me, "We should talk." Lowell, then she called. Then she showed up at my building lobby claiming she needed closure. Closure is just a cheater's dialect for "I messed up worse than I realized." I met her in the cafe across the street not because I missed her, but because I wanted to know just how disconnected from reality she truly was. She sat down, no makeup, hair tied up, anxiety visible. "You didn't have to destroy everything," she said softly. "Destroy," I replied. "I just told the truth. The rest was self-destruct mode, courtesy of you two." She stared at her coffee as if it held answers. "I don't know when became that person," she whispered. And here's the twist. No one ever expects in revenge tales. I actually quietly believed her. Betrayal happens loud, but regret arrives quiet as a whisper you're forced to sit with. I didn't forgive her. Forgiveness isn't a coupon you hand out to make drama cheaper. But I also didn't throw more grenades. Revenge already did its job. Dragging it further would just make me as miserable as she was. "I hope you figure yourself out," I told her, "but I'm done being the collateral." She nodded. For once, no fight, no spin, no excuses. I walked away feeling something weird lighter. Like betrayal had weighed more than I realized, and freedom was finally catching up. If you've ever been cheated on, lied to, gaslit, or treated like a backup plan, you know there's no perfect closure. There's just one choice. Stay bitter or get better. I chose better. And now, Well, the funny thing about healing is it makes you dangerous in a completely different way. Not you become someone no liar can manipulate, and no betrayer can conquer twice. If you're watching this story, tighten your blanket and hit the like button so YouTube understands you want the next chapter unlocked. And tell me in the comments, which beautiful country are you watching from? And what's the exact time there right now?